Okay, so I'm going to do an NHL bracket first because simply it's easier, and also because I've just recorded an entire NBA bracket where the thing did not record properly, so I had to use 90% of my brain into a video that never got made. Alright, so let's start at the top left in the Western Conference. First up, we have Colorado and the Seattle Kraken. Now, I think Seattle have been beyond my expectations this year. Last year, in their inaugural season, I didn't think they were anything that special. I always thought they were just, ordinary. But I think they really played quite well this season, actually. I was actually quite impressed. And Philip Grubauer, their shot stopper, has proved to be very, very good for them. In the same way that he was last year for his former team, the Colorado Avalanche. And he gets to play them again. And Colorado somehow clinched the top of the Central Division despite being injured from hell to back. So I think this is a really interesting matchup. Obviously we've got, the current Stanley Cup champions and I'd say the overwhelming favourites against a young and pretty exciting Seattle Kraken team. Unfortunately I've got the Avs going through. Seattle are great, and I think with enough, if they play well, I think they probably could get through in 6 or 7. But Colorado are just really good, and I think most of their big pieces will just come back in. Next up is Dallas, Minnesota. I support Dallas, so I'm going to try and stay impartial, but the Stars have pretty much been exceptional all year. I think, except for the last couple of stretches in the last few months, I think they impressed a lot of people with the way they played. For last year, they looked like an absolute mess. They could not produce on offense, and pretty much the only thing keeping them in games at all was Jake Ottinger. Now, Jake Ottinger is still playing out of his mind, and now we are actually producing on offense, which makes us extremely good. Meanwhile, Minnesota have sort of been, I wouldn't say mediocre, but never good enough to go through. I think this year Minnesota have been that next level. I think Kirill Kaprizov has been pretty good. He's playing as well as he has been since last year. He has been exceptional, and I think Minnesota are great to watch. I think Dallas will just get through just because they've had that playoff experience recently. They've had the cup run from, Jesus Christ, it was 3 years ago now. 3 years ago. And I just think they'll outclass the Wild. But really, anything's possible. Next is Vegas, Winnipeg. Vegas, I'd say we're actually pretty surprising this year too. I mean, they have been one of the top teams for many years, but I think many people predicted a slide. So when they stayed up and won their division, I think it took a lot of people, including me, by surprise. Winnipeg went from, I'd say, pretty bad last season to actually quite good. I feel like they were really exciting, and they started the season really well, but they simply just slid off towards the end of the year. But they've been really good, and I think it'll be exciting to watch these two teams. I think Vegas will get through just because they are the better of the two teams, but really, Winnipeg, again, this Western Conference is so wide open that Winnipeg could really win. Next up is a repeat of last year. I think it's Edmonton and LA, and I think it's a lot of the same as last year. A big Edmonton team who are looking to prove themselves once again, and LA who are pretty much playing ahead of schedule, ahead of their rebuild schedule, and I think it'll be really exciting to see. LA are a much stronger team this season than they were last season, and I think it'll be really exceptional to see how they do. But Edmonton, man, it's kind of hard to... I got to predict the number of games. It's kind of hard to say just how well LA will be, especially when McDavid and Draisaitl have been absolutely cooking for Edmonton. Everyone on offense in Edmonton just meshes so well. So I've got Edmonton going through. Okay. How many games? I'll go Stars in 6. That'll be a good series. Vegas in 5. Oilers in 6. Avs in 5. Let's go to the Eastern Conference now that I know how to do that. Boston and Florida. So Florida have been pretty shit. Compared to how they've been in the last couple of seasons, it's a big downgrade. They're lucky they still made the playoffs, and they've got to play against who I think is going through the super incredible, super strong Boston Bruins, who really have come out of nowhere and just defied all expectations. I mean, seriously, Boston this year, you cannot understand how good they've looked. Like, they've been incredible. I think this is the best they've looked since the 19 Cup run and the, I think, 2011 Stanley Cup win. So yeah, I think they really do look almost unbeatable. Next up is Toronto-Tampa, which is another rematch from last year. Toronto are looking to break their hoop, and I think if there was ever a year to do it, this is the year. I mean, Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and all those other big pieces that they're paying $500 billion for are playing out of them, and Tampa aren't really at full strength. So if there was ever time to do it, they should do it. Carolina and the Islanders. I've got Carolina. They've just been so good this year. Islanders are on, I'd say, ahead of schedule of how they're playing. I'd say last year, I think a lot of people didn't expect them to be playing as well this year. Just the way they played last year, I don't think anyone had them in the finals, to be honest. I think it's great to see them return to form, but I don't think this year's the year for them to go. Next is the most toxic rivalry in the NHL. It's the Battle of the Hudson River. New Jersey and New York. New Jersey have shocked pretty much everyone. I mean, I'm pretty sure they came like 3rd or 4th last in the league last year or something like that. And the Rangers were this big, young, dynamic core who just seem to get better year in, year out. This is so tight. Like, anyone could win this. This is definitely a guaranteed 7-game series full of extreme toxicity. It's going to be so good. I've had the Devils going through just because, look, Jack Hughes and Luke Hughes together make such an interesting dynamic. I don't remember their goalie's name, but he is super good at stopping shots. Yeah, so let's put these on the screen. 7, 6, 5, 6. Alright, second round time. Avs Stars. Now, when these two played this season, it was always pretty even. It's really hard to say because you could make a very reasonable claim for any of them going through. But I think the Stars get through. You can call Texas bias all you want, but I think the Avs are just far too injured, and the way some players are going on our roster, you know, Robertson and Pavelski, I think the roster is just meshing really well with ours. Vegas Edmonton is going to be an insane matchup. You know, these are two powerhouse hockey clubs, and they are going to be putting everything on the line. This will almost feel like a Stanley Cup final if they went to Western Conference. If they went in the same division, it could easily be a conference final as well. But it is such a massive matchup, and I think the Oilers go through. They are exceptional, as they are exceptional this season again. I think it's going to be exciting to see just how far they can go with this roster. Boston-Toronto will be a massive matchup. I mean, it's a matchup that has had so much history in the last 10 years. There'll be a lot of emotions running high. There'll be a lot of There'll be a lot of like hunger to like avenge like past Leaf seasons, and I think it'll be really great to see. And it will definitely be a hard-fought 6-7 game series. Toronto probably gets hurt again. Boston have just been so good. I really look forward to this matchup if it happens. Carolina and the Devils will be really fun. Two young teams, two black and red teams who are looking to go beyond where they are now and look to push that next level. Carolina have been arguably contenders for a while now, and I think they're looking to make that next step, which is why I've got them going ahead. The Devils could reasonably do well, but I just think they're still a bit too young. This is their first season making the playoffs in what? Years or something like that? 6, 7 years? I think 24. I don't remember them making it. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see. Onto the conference finals, there'll be a lot less review as it goes on because obviously it's hard to make judgments about how a team is playing. I've got Edmonton and Boston meeting in the final. I mean, simply put, these two teams are probably the best two teams in the NHL, straight up. I mean, you've got arguably one of the greatest generational players, two of the greatest generational players on the same roster. You've got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, you've got Evander Kane, you've just got the pieces of an incredible team, of an incredible dynasty team. And then you've got Boston, who are pretty much unbeatable this season. And this would be awesome if this is the Stanley Cup final. It probably won't be because, hockey's just a game of upsets. But if we get this, I think we'd be really lucky. And I think it'd be a really tight series, but I'd have Edmonton going through. So I'd have the Edmonton Oilers as the Stanley Cup champions. You can see that's my bracket there again. It would be a really hard-fought series. This would be a really fun playoffs. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this year's Stanley Cup playoffs.